session. As you know, recording a session requires the approval of participants. So I believe each one of you here, you accept that we record this meeting, this training. Now, Zwane has already raised her hand. I don't know, is there something particular you want to say, Zwane? Joy? Okay. Okay, so let me start.
Okay.
Yes? Yes, Joy?
Yes, we're all on board.
Oh, okay, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are actually 14 on board. Most of you here are CIKM, which is great because you are the ones who are going to use and to facilitate the use of this, this Zoom tool. So it's very important that you are all here. Who is admin PC, by the way? Admin PC, who are you? Can you rename yourself or just say, tell me here who you are and I will rename? Admin PC.
Hi, Jeffrey Silva.
Who is admin PC? When you enter the Zoom, please identify yourself. You have the opportunity to write your name, so just write your name there. Admin PC, who are you, please? Because if you don't identify yourself, I'll remove. Okay, so I'm removing admin PC from this chat, this training, and the person can come back later, but with her name, her full name. Okay, so let's start. So this is a Zoom training, first lesson, because we think that we might need more than one training, the use of Zoom. So this is the very first one, and to begin, we will ask, I will send a first poll, and you will see a poll on your screen now. I guess you all see the same screen. So you can vote. You just click on the answer. Have you used Zoom meeting before? It's a multiple choice, so you can click on as many as applied to you. So there are 2 votes for now. So you click on the answers and then you submit. This is how you do. 5 votes. 7. We want to be quite accurate in the way we will do this training. So I want to know exactly whom are here for the first time in the Zoom, who are using it occasionally, who has been using it very often, how many of you are using it to attend, just to attend some meetings, and who has already hosted meetings with Zoom. So for now, 10 of you have already voted. There are 2 remaining. So before I close this, please put your audio off. Please put your audio off when you are not invited to speak. Okay, so we have 11 voters, and let me end this poll. Now I'm sharing the results so that you can see. Okay, so this tells us that many of you have been already using Zoom. I mean, everybody has already used Zoom before. And even some of you has already hosted meeting using Zoom. But most are using it to attend some meeting. So I think the actual audience is appropriate for the training I prepared. Those who have already hosted Zoom meetings, you are invited to share your experience through this training, okay? So you'll have the opportunity to do that. So the first question that we might ask ourselves is why we are using Zoom. Why not other tools like Skype or Google Meet or any others? Okay, the answer for that is that Zoom is actually one of the most friendly tools to meet, to discuss, to exchange, share information, to train, like what we are doing now, to brainstorm, to collaborate, sometimes just to chat, or to do a poll like what we just did now. And it comes with a free but limited offer, but can be upgraded, of course, with lots of additional functionalities when we use the paid version. The one that we are going to use for this training is not the paid version. Just to show you that there's a lot of possibilities, even if you don't spend a single cent, you can use a lot of possibilities with Zoom. So what are the requirements when you want to use Zoom? Well, the first requirement is, and this is mandatory, of course, you need a device, which can be a computer, a smartphone, or a tablet. You absolutely need internet connection. And of course, you need some people to play on Zoom, essentially the host and the participants. Then there are some optional. A working sound system. Of course, if you want to hear, if you want to speak, you must have a sound system. A webcam, if you want people to see you, you must have a webcam. And in some case, if you use Zoom for big groups, you can also use what we call the OWL. So the OWL is this kind of device that you just put on the table, and it will immediately turn the camera to the person who is speaking. And people can see in panoramic here, people who are in the room. So this is another optional device that can be used when you have a Zoom meeting or a Zoom webinar or any kind of workshop. Now, let's talk about what we must know when we start a Zoom meeting. The first thing is a Zoom session or meeting or webinar. It always has an ID and a password. This is the first thing that you are looking for when you want to go into Zoom. Of course, you launch the tool and immediately you will need the ID and the password. Where do you find that? We will see later. But you need this. These are the two key information that you need. When you have that, you can go into Zoom and do the training or whatever you are trying to do there. Anyone can join a meeting without even having a Zoom account, as long as the person knows the ID and the password. You don't even need to have a Zoom account to meet with Zoom, as long as you know the ID and the password. But if you want to host a meeting, and this is very important for the CIKM who are participating here, because you are going to host meetings, then you must create your Zoom account. Each account has a set of settings that you have to configure, to define. Zoom session has many settings, and we are going to go through some of these Zoom settings. So before we go there, let's go for another poll. This is going to be a quite interactive session. So here is the second question that is coming. Which one of the following settings exist on Zoom? Just to know if we have some experience on the use of Zoom. So this is again a multiple choice. You can check many or just one. Check as many as you know and submit after. Don't check if you haven't been using the functionality before, because there might be some fake functionalities added there. Donc, pendant qu'on fait le poll, nous venons de dire donc que l'utilisation de Zoom est libre pour juste participer. Vous n'avez pas besoin d'avoir de compte. Par contre, dès que vous voulez être le hôte ou l'hébergeur d'une réunion, vous devez avoir un compte Zoom et on va voir comment est-ce qu'on crée ce compte et aussi comment on va le configurer, parce qu'il faut aussi configurer le compte. Après avoir créé, il faut le configurer. So after 1 minute, 40 seconds, we have 12 voters out of the 16 who are participating in this webinar, in this training. Maybe some additional votes, 13. And I will end the poll when we reach 14. So the question is, which one of the following settings exist on Zoom? We said that there are many settings that you have to define before activate or deactivate before starting a meeting. Which one of them exists? So we are 17 here. Please, a last one, a last vote. Okay, it's taking time, so I will just end the poll. And this is the result we got. So as we can see, Most of us, we know that we can share screen. It's obvious because I am sharing screen now. Many of us also know that can use the audio and video. This is what I'm doing now. That we can send people in the waiting room, and that it is possible to have a permanent ID and to configure also the password. So it seems these last two functionalities, we are not sure about that, but this is what we are going to see in the next slides. So let's continue with the next slide now. Okay, so how do you create a Zoom account? Creating a Zoom account is very simple, straightforward. You just open zoom.us and you have this sign up. It's free here. If you haven't created your account before, you just need to go to sign up. And when you click on that, you will be forwarded to this screen where you can sign with your email address and a password, or some existing account, which can be a Gmail or a Facebook account. So you better use the functionality at the bottom, because instead of writing your password every time, you just use the Google account, attach it to your Zoom account. And as soon as you click on the Google here or on the Facebook here, you'll be able to enter the Zoom. Now, about session ID and password, there's a very good practice. If you don't want to complicate things and have to send a new ID and new password all the time, you better configure your ID and password once for all, or you can change it, of course, later. But it's important to know that by default, the password and the meeting ID changes every time you start a meeting. That is by default. So you need to configure it to decide on the meeting ID and the password that you want to put, and do it manually if you want these things not to change every time. And for some account, if it's not a paid account, you won't even be able to choose the permanent ID. Zoom will give you one permanent ID that you will use, but you need to say, I want to use it every time. So how do we do that? This is the landing page. After you signed in, you will see your photo here. You will see that because I already added my photo, I have my photo, but it can be your initial just here. So when you are logged in for the first time, or any time you logged in, you will see this screen. So on the left sidebar, you have this menu and some also here, and your photo or your identity here. Zoom screen is quite complicated sometimes. There are so many things, but we will go straight to the most important that will help you. What we want to do is to just guide you to be able to use Zoom in the most straightforward, easy way. So what are the essentials you need to know when you are going to organize a Zoom meeting? After clicking on your profile here or here, this is what you'll get. And it's here that you will be able to change the configuration. By default, Zoom will give you a personal meeting ID. This is if it's a non-paid Zoom. But if, of course, you upgrade, you can choose if the number hasn't been chosen by someone before. So here, Zoom has given me this number, and I can't change that, but I can use this personal meeting ID for instant meetings. For all meetings that I will organize, I can use always that one if I check here and save the changes. If I haven't done that, every time I start a meeting with André Rassou, this meeting ID will change. So it's very important to check use personal meeting ID for instant meetings so that it doesn't change every time. Something that is important also here is, and you'll go through all the other things, but don't forget to change the time zone, because if you invite people to a meeting in automatic mode in Zoom, your time zone must be configured, and they will see the different time zone from their side. Usually I don't use that. I prefer to have full control on the invitation, writing the exact hour, because of some problems I noticed in the past. There are some different times in different regions of Europe and so on, and it doesn't match exactly what you're expecting. So it's better sometimes not to rely on the automatic thing. Now, okay, someone is playing on the annotation. I will disable participant annotation for now. Okay. So the next thing is to configure the password. So to configure the meeting ID, it was in the profile that you do it. But for the password, you do it on the settings. Just check on the left sidebar, you have settings, and go into security. So this is the security box, and here you can change the password that we'll be using for each meeting, using a computer or using a smartphone, by the way. So these are parameters that you must know if you want to set the password yourself. Okay, I will just translate very quickly in French. Donc, je disais, pour utiliser le Zoom, il y a deux choses très importantes qu'il faut savoir. C'est pour faciliter votre tâche et ne pas avoir à donner de nouveaux numéros de réunion chaque fois. Il faut donc aller dans le profil et changer ce paramètre ici, cocher pour que ce numéro soit permanent pour toutes les réunions que vous allez organiser. Il faut aussi changer la date la zone horaire pour que vous soyez sûr, lorsque vous invitez d'autres personnes dans d'autres zones horaires, ça convient bien. Ensuite, pour que votre réunion, vous puissiez maîtriser le mot de passe à chaque fois, eh bien, vous êtes déjà logué, vous êtes authentifié, vous entrez dans Settings et vous changez le mot de passe ici. C'est ce mot de passe-là que vous allez transmettre à vos collègues disant « Utilisez tel numéro de réunion et tel mot de passe pour accéder à notre salle de réunion. » As a host, you have control on different aspects. You have to configure these parameters. The first one is you have the possibility to lock meetings. For instance, if there are too many people, or if I reach the maximum that I was expecting, I can lock the meeting and nobody else can join anymore. That's the first. You can configure that. The next thing you can configure is you can activate the waiting room. So people come in your meeting, but they are not immediately in the room. They are just in the waiting room waiting for you to admit them. That's another functionality that you can configure. The next one is the screen sharing. You can authorize people to share screen, or you are the only one who can share the screen, or multiple actors can share screen. Also, you can ask people to rename themselves or not to rename themselves, or just keep the same name they've been entering in your meeting. So, for instance, if I look here, the names I see are admin PC is back again. We still don't know who is admin PC, but admin PC is insisting. Okay. I'm putting all the video off for now. Yes. So people can share screen, people can rename themselves, people can participate in chat or not. You can, of course, block the chat system, and people can activate or reactivate the mic. You can also block the microphone, mute everybody, and nobody can speak. That's also possible. You can configure that with Zoom. So how do you do that? And you have here security just with the settings. You remember there was settings here and security, and you have a set of configurations here. So host video, you can put on participants video. If you put this off, it means that it will never come with video. Join before host, for instance, Joy Zwane was already in the meeting before me, in the room before me, because this was activate. But if it wasn't activate, she won't have been able to join before me. Enable personal meeting ID. Okay, this is very important. Add into the configuration that you had to do before, don't forget also to activate this option. Enable personal meeting ID. Use personal meeting ID when scheduling a meeting. Use personal meeting ID when starting an instant meeting. And mute participants upon entry. This is important so that we don't hear too much noise in the background of the meeting. Then after the security, you have schedule meeting. And here we have some important configuration about the chat, about the private chat, about auto-saving chat, about sound notification when people are coming in, and about the possibility to transfer files. So these are some of the parameters that we need to configure before even starting a meeting, based on what we expect. Then screen sharing in meeting basic. This is basic formula. So screen sharing, this is what I'm doing now. So only host or all participants and so on. And annotation. The annotation is what someone was trying to do before, writing on the screen. You can allow people to write on your screen while you even present. We can do some exercise on that later when we will do our for instance, the foresight trainings and so on. And the whiteboard. Whiteboard allows participants to just draw or write whatever they want on the board in a participatory way. Then some other like nonverbal feedback. You see there are some icons somewhere that you can just click to show that you are happy, you are okay, and so on. Allow removed participants to rejoin. You can remove participants and allow them to rejoin, or don't allow them to come back anymore. Allow participants to rename themselves. We've seen that also. Report participants to Zoom. Breakdown room. Okay, the breakdown room also is an important functionality we'll do later. We can have one main session, and behind we can have some breakdown sessions so that we can split participants in a meeting to go in different rooms. Okay, so before we move to the next poll, let me summarize that quickly in French again. Donc, pour les francophones, nous venons de voir qu'il y a plusieurs possibilités de configuration de paramétrage, notamment les réunions peuvent être verrouillées lorsque le quota est arrivé. On peut donc verrouiller la réunion. On peut aussi mettre les personnes en salle d'attente avant de commencer une réunion. On peut partager l'écran. On peut configurer pour que les personnes puissent renommer eux-mêmes leur nom. On peut demander aux participants de pouvoir faire la conversation ou non, et de réactiver ou de bloquer le micro. Le responsable donc d'hébergement d'une réunion peut configurer, bloquer tout ça ou bien animer ça. Alors voilà les écrans que nous venons de voir tout à l'heure pour faire toutes ces configurations. Vous arrivez juste sur sécurité et vous allez voir tout ça. Schedule meeting, etc., pour pouvoir configurer. Voilà, la prochaine question maintenant. The next poll is was my poll always visible there? The result was always visible, it seems. And nobody complained. So the next poll is about which one of the following functionalities have you used before? So here we have, and this is another multiple choice question. We have one first set and the second set, which is the same answers, but which one are you willing to use in future? So you have two sets of questions. Please go through it, and we will see what you have been using and what you want to use in future. Donc, nous avons là une série de questions et vous êtes invité à répondre. Lesquelles de ces fonctionnalités avez-vous déjà utilisées dans le passé et lesquelles vous voulez essayer d'utiliser dans le futur? Okay, we have 10 votes for now. Some more, some more. 11. 30 seconds. Which functionality do you want to use in future? Which one you have been using? So apparently voice meeting, video meeting, chat, screen sharing. Most of you have been using that before. Very few has used whiteboard and breakout rooms and Q&A space. And so in future, what we want is to use some of these functions, these new functionalities. Yes, Hope, you are raising your hand or?
Yes, Andre, I had a question. So on the second question on the poll, it was only one single answer. There was no multiple choice. So I was asking, what if you are interested to learn how to use the other functionalities? Are we only limited to one?
Oh, I think there was a mistake. There was a mistake there, but the poll was not configured properly. It should have been a multiple task also, multiple choice also. Yeah, we can also do that. Can come back on that on the next session, or you can write also your expectation in the chat box.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so let's end this poll now. So I'm closing and sharing the results so that we all see. Of course, everybody has been using the voice and the video and so on. And what we want to experiment, most of them, those who are who want to use the maximum new functionalities for breakout rooms and Q&A meetings. Okay, so let me just record that quickly so that we have a record of the expectations. Okay, so let's continue this. The next. Okay. Yeah, maybe just a quick reminder. We might already know that you can use Zoom for a meeting, just a one-on-one meeting, or for a group meeting, for a training, for sharing some screens and sharing also documents. You can send documents also to Zoom. You can use it to do a poll, to share, to organize a break room session. You can use it just to chat and this is maybe something that you haven't been doing before, is you can record yourself talking to the computer or doing a virtual training. You can just record yourself on Zoom and have a free video of what you're presenting and yourself on the screen. Even if there's no participant, you can do that. You can use Zoom just for delivering a speech or preparing sometimes actually instead of sending a CV, a paper CV, a hard copy CV, you just send a video explaining who you are and so on. So Zoom can be used for that. Now, some recommendations. Now that you have configured, you know how to put all the parameters and what you can do with Zoom. Some recommendations before even you start or you prepare the meeting. First one is make sure you have set all your configurations properly. Some might be activated or deactivated by default, and you will be surprised when the meeting starts. Like me, I was surprised to see the annotation. Just someone was drawing something on the screen because I was not well prepared. The other thing is test your audio. It's very important that you test your audio before even the meeting starts, because there are so many possibilities that your sound card doesn't work, or your mic isn't good, or your headset is not there, and so on. Same for the video. If you want to be visible, then use the webcam and test it before even you start the meeting. Prepare the files that you want to share. Don't waste participants' time trying to retrieve your file somewhere on a stick drive or whatever. And make sure that you have it somewhere already just to be sent. And if you have to do a presentation, prepare your presentation in advance and open it in advance so that you don't waste participants' time trying to retrieve the presentation, open it, and then share it. So these are very practical recommendations. Now, some recommendations are managing the meeting. So sometimes during the meeting, there will be some surprise also. So to avoid too many surprises, send some explanations or instructions before the meeting and tell the participants what they are expected to do, what they are allowed to do, and what they are not allowed to do. Ask them to raise hands if they want to speak. If they speak at the same time, we hear what is told by each participant. So ask participants to be disciplined in that way. Request participants to write in the chat box. That's also another good idea. And I guess at this point, Nestor is scanning the chat box. He says that he's still struggling a little bit connection, but he will summarize the questions just after I finish here. So should write a question in the chat box, not to forget it. Sometimes the training is long and at the end you don't remember your question anymore. Authorize to show video when needed, and same for the audio and screen sharing. Be careful when sharing, when showing video, because the size of your file might be up to 10 times bigger. The video file that you will retrieve after the session can go up to 10 times bigger with videos. So when possible, when you use the face of all the participants, don't use the video while you're recording. After recording, you can ask people, everybody, to show their face, and that's what we are going to do, by the way, after this training, just to capture the participants. But don't put the video on when you are recording and when it's not essential, because it will just create so much, it will take so much bandwidth and also file size for the recording. You can also activate the waiting room when it's needed. Sometimes it will happen that some intruders will come and you don't even know them. So you better put the waiting room activate and check before the meeting whom are the persons in the room, at person one each other after other. Then if there are some intruders, you know, these days we don't know who are hacking your meetings. So if you can find some intruders, you can remove them from the participants list. And of course, for the meeting when it's needed. In our case, because some of our members maybe are not present here, I'm recording so that they can retrieve the same training. But usually, if it's just a routine, just not a very important meeting, you can just you don't need to record. And by the way, if it's a free account, a Zoom, a basic free account, you won't be able to record the file on your the cloud. It will be recorded on your personal computer. So just after you finish the meeting, you close the meeting, it will come to your screen, and you will have to save it on your hard drive instead of saving it in the cloud automatically. There's a big difference between the basic and the pro, the paid version of SOLSO. And last but not least, also remember that you are the one who is in charge of continuing and in a meeting. When you press on the end meeting or Alt Q, then the meeting will end. Nobody else will be able to attend that meeting anymore. Everybody will have gone. So that's all for that first session. I'm just going to show quickly some of the functionalities that you must know. Maybe before that, translate quickly French. Nestor, est-ce que tu veux faire la traduction ou bien peut-être quelques propositions? Donc, quelques recommandations qui ont été dites tout à l'heure. Il faut tester votre matériel et vos configurations avant de commencer la session Zoom. Hein, c'est très important. Il faut aussi recommandations ici qui sont d'envoyer des explications préliminaires, demander aux participants de lever la main, de ne pas utiliser la vidéo tout le temps parce que ça consomme de la bande passante, et aussi la taille de la vidéo va être très grande si vous enregistrez toute la session. Pour ne pas avoir de bruit en fond, vous pouvez aussi mettre les écrans partagés et le son en mode sourdine. Pour enregistrer, pour accepter les participants ou les mettre dans la salle d'attente, vous pouvez activer aussi le waiting room. Et s'il y a des intrus dans votre meeting, vous pouvez les effacer évidemment. Vous pouvez enregistrer toute la session sur votre disque dur si vous êtes en mode non payé, en mode basique, et dans le cloud, dans les nuages, si vous avez une version payante. N'oubliez pas que vous êtes le maître de la session et que vous pouvez donc arrêter la session à tout moment, ou vous prenez le risque d'arrêter la session à tout moment si vous faites arrêter réunion. So just some final screenshots. This is what you see at this moment. And before a meeting starts, this is what you have to check. Your audio doesn't work, check here. It must be somewhere here that something doesn't work. Your speaker, your mic, and so on. Then this is very, very important. The security aspect. It's here that you can lock the meeting, that you can also enable the waiting room. Sometimes you haven't configured it in the web, so you can configure it live here. It's here that you can allow participants to share screen, to use the chat, to rename themselves, to unmute themselves or not mute themselves. So you have the security control here. And so this is one of the most important. You must, if you host a meeting, don't forget to check this because you might have missed the configuration in the web version, but you can always catch up here. Then about sharing the screen also, this is where you can do it. You can configure so that more people can share screen. And finally, here you can, by going here, there are a set of settings, configuration that you can change by going here. So general settings, and you check there. And also there might be some others, of course, when you go to video, audio, share screen, virtual background, recording, statistics, and so on, you'll see more settings. So that's all for now. Lesson 1 is done. Thank you for attending. We can start practicing. You can start practicing in your country forum. I hope it has helped. So place to question and answer now. And I will just stop recording this first part and we can stop recording. And I will restart with a Q&A recording now. Donc voilà pour cette première session de formation.